Hi all and welcome to today's video where I'm playing with Trinity Stamps Coffee with Character stamps and sentiments as well. These also have dies with them, which is great and convenient, and there is a lot since this is a big stamp set. So today I'm creating a little bit of a heat resist technique with embossing powders from Wow. We'll be using two different types of embossing powders. Now first of all, I've got a white cardstock panel here. And I have prepped my cardstock purely because I moisturized my hands not thinking I was going to film straight away, and I just didn't want to add that extra stickiness on my cardstock. So I did put a powder tool on that. I have got the word stamps here, and I've pulled out a couple like coffee, espresso, latte, mocha, and I'm going to randomly stamp these words on the white cardstock panel here. So there is really kind of no method. I don't have a system. I don't actually have a pattern as such. I just did total random stamping. Now I've used my Wow embossing pad here. This is ultra slow, so this means I have time to play with stamp sets and stamp and having that extra stickiness on my card so that the powder will still adhere to it after a lengthy amount of time. So I've got my heat tool. I'm going to heat set this in white. So this is bright white opaque. So this is beautiful. This stands out on ink resist, and it's just so opaque. It's lovely to play with. So once I've heat set that, I then do some ink blending. Now I have used, which I haven't used in the past, but I had it sitting in my hoard vault waiting to play for the right time, and the time came. So I have got this distress brush, and I love how it picks up the ink and it creates such a soft blending palette, and you can build the color. So I've got the Victorian Velvet Distress ink. I haven't played much with this ink, but lately I've been inspired by a pattern paper collection where this ink seems to be the focal ink, and I absolutely love playing with it. So I then decided to go more like an ombre, where I go more heavy one end and go lighter to the other. So this ink, because it's a distress ink, it's great for blending, but I also found that I went heavier handed on one side, then really light wispy. You can see almost stroking kind of movements there where I went really light handed, and this I felt really created that ombre look that I was after. So I did play around with this panel a little bit. This is why I did it in double time, because it did take a little bit of time for me to be happy with this. So I'm going to use the direct ink pad to paper method here, because I want this cardstock, this scallop cardstock, good and soaked with this ink, because I'm going to be using the Pink Sherbet embossing glitter. It's so beautiful. I have used this before. Oh, sorry, this is the Taffeta Pink. I have two favorite pinks, but this is the Taffeta Pink. This is a little bit more light ink, and it's got such an intense sparkle to it. It's just so beautiful. Okay, so now I am going to just coat this up. I'm going to pick any extra bits that I've kind of scraped away with my finger, and I'm going to heat set this. So I have used a scrap piece of paper. I could have honestly heat set this on my glass mat. I am still getting used to the versatility of this glass mat. I think I've mentioned that before, because you can do all that, but I'm so used to having to have that protected layer on. But yeah, here is the scallop circle. Now I'm going to be Copic coloring, so because of that I have used this permanent black ink from Alter New. This is really good for Copic, and it's Copic friendly. It's alcohol ink friendly. So I have stamped the coffee cups. I have stamped 3 here, however I only end up using 2. I am not the best colorist at all by far, so I tend to make extra just in case, even though I do test colors out, Copic colors out on the side. I tend to doubt myself a lot, and sometimes I just end up playing with colors first and not be happy with it. So I'm working with my BB colors here, and I'm going to be going really light with these. Now I use Sketch and Chows depending on what I can get, the color I want, and at the time what I can spend, which I shouldn't be. So I kind of just mix between the Chow and sketches according to my budget. So I just color these in. I kind of keep like a light source towards the middle of the cup. I just felt like I needed to do that. No really reason for it, but I did. Okay, so I just kind of feel like I touch up all my coloring with this. I won't bore you because I continued the same coloring method for the rest of them. I'm going to bring that ink back in, and I'm going to stamp a coffee bean in the center of these. So it's room to actually do whatever you want. You can stamp whatever you want. There's hearts, there's faces, there's so many cute elements to this big coffee stamp set. You can turn them into little like characters where they have faces and smiles and eyes and lashes and legs and arms. But I went a bit plain Jane for today's card. So I've got a black top folding card base here. I trimmed my panel down to fit within that, having like an 1/8 of an inch border all around. I used a strip of cardstock, a strip of foam adhesive here from Couture Creations. I've got my Express It tape runner. I found that I can easily access and buy these in Australia here, so have been my easy go-to tape lately. Sometimes, like I'm a bit of a tightwad, so I do use tape a lot. But for videos, I find tapes really are easy to use. So it's really by convenience that I'm using this today, but I have been using it a lot more so lately. And I'm going to adhere these straight down with that tape. So the scalloped pink circle had some depth into it, so that's why I used the foam mount. I could have easily turned this into a shaker card. Didn't want to go to that effort, to be honest. I do love shaker cards, and I really wasn't feeling to be in a shaker mood. Anyway, so stamping the sentiment in permanent black. This the stamp sets with all the sentiment, that coffee related sentiments, it's totally versatile. You can make and mismatch and do whatever you want. So I just put love you more than, and that's on a white strip of cardstock and on a black strip of cardstock. This one I adhere down with liquid adhesive actually, whereas on the black strip of cardstock where I heat emboss with white embossing powder with the word coffee, I heat emboss that with white, and I foam mounted the coffee, I think. Can you imagine? I can't even remember. I only made this yesterday, and I'm just deciding to do the video, the voiceover the next day, as I took my family out to go fishing. That's right. I'm not a fisher, but my kids and my husband are. So I'm really more of a spectator. But I'm there for moral support and for any injuries. All right, so I've placed foam mount behind that, and I fiddle around with each of the sentiments a little bit longer. Because I used liquid adhesive, I had time to move that sentiment if it wasn't straight. And to finish the card off, all I did was add these beautiful sequins, these flat back sequins from Trinity. They've got like a bluey purple tinge to it, so I thought it was perfect and went with this kind of theme. And I only stuck 3 sequins on, not putting too much effort in, and that is my card creation. I hope you liked it. Some soft colors. Love the ink blending and playing around with these. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.